Hello everyone, this is the second part of lesson 9.7, solving systems of linear and quadratic equations. In the last Edulastic, you learned how you can do this by graphing the two equations and finding the points where they intersect. Sometimes they'll intersect 2 times, sometimes just once, and sometimes never at all. So there are other methods algebraically that we can use to solve systems of equations. The first one is elimination, and the second one is substitution. And there's also a way that we can use our graphing calculators to solve, but unless we have time for it, I think that'll be another lesson. So you already did this in the last Edulastic. Okay, now we're going to do using elimination. So say you have these two equations, one is quadratic and one is linear. Elimination is where you take the two equations and you subtract them, and then you eliminate. If you subtract these two equations, then you will subtract the y's, and the y's would cancel or be eliminated. So eliminating means that you're eliminating a variable so that you only have one variable left. Because right now you have two variables and you can't solve an equation if it has two variables. So the first step is to subtract the second equation. Subtract second equation. And when you do that, you want to make sure that you change the signs. So this would become minus, plus, and minus. Okay, so you'll have y minus y turns out to be 0. So the big point here is that the y's are going to cancel. And then you have x squared. There isn't an x squared here, so we're just going to write it down here. X squared minus nothing. Negative 11x plus 12x becomes plus just regular x. And then negative 36 minus 36 becomes negative 72. Okay, so then after this, what we're going to do, since we're still just doing algebra, we're not doing it on the graph, we're going to factor this. So factor. And this is a trinomial, so we can factor it like this. So set up your two parentheses. You don't need the AC method because the A is just 1. Put the X here and there. And then what are factors of 72 that add to 1? Let's write factors of 72. They'd be 1 and 72, 2 and 36, 3 and, let's see, 72 divided by 3. That's not going to work. How about 72 divided by 4? That's not going to work. 72 divided by 6. 6 and 12 won't work. 72 divided by, I don't think it's divisible by 7, is it? Nope. 72 divided by 8. And 8 and 9 are winners. So we're going to do 8 and 9. But if we want to be positive in the middle, we would have to do minus 8 and plus 9. And then if you were to solve the two factors, you would get x equals 8 and x equals negative 9. Right, so those would be, So those are your x's, but then remember when you get solutions, you need to have a coordinate. So then we need to plug 8 and 9, negative 9, back into either one of these equations. So step 4 is to plug x's. Now it's going to be easier if you plug it into the linear equation. So plug x's into linear equation. It doesn't matter because they should both turn out to be the same. And then step 5, write solutions as coordinates. Okay, so if I get rid of this so I can see what the equation was supposed to be, and in my calculator I would do negative 12 times 8 plus 36 is negative 60, and then negative 12 times negative 9 plus 36 is 144. So this isn't something that we would really want to do graphing because our graph would have to be so high and low in order to see these two solutions. So sometimes doing it this way is easier, especially if you're not sure how to graph, or if you can't remember how to graph a quadratic. And so it was 8, negative 60, and negative 9, 144. So those are our two solutions. All right, let's practice another one real quick. So elimination, we're going to subtract the two equations. So this would become 0 equals x squared. 4x minus 3x is 1x. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. Okay, then we factor this. Factors of negative 2 that add to 1 would just be 2 and 1. But you would want to be plus 2 and minus 1 to get positive in the middle. Okay, then your solutions would be negative x equals negative 2, x equals 1. And then we plug negative 2 and 1 back in for x into the linear equation. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, plus 1 is negative 5. So we would have negative 2 comma negative 5. If you plug 1 in, you get 3 plus 1, which is 4. So 1 comma 4. All right, so the second method is called substitution. Substitution is where you solve one of the variables for either x or y and substitute that in for the other equation. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve the linear equation for y, so get it to be y equals, and then I'm going to replace whatever that is with the y equals over here, because if they're both, we're looking for where they're both the same. So we could set them equal to each other. So here, if I subtract the x over, I would get y equals negative x plus 5. Okay, so then if y equals negative x plus 5 over here, and y equals x squared minus 6x plus 9 over there, I can set these two equal to each other because they're both equal to y. So we're going to have negative x plus 5 equals x squared minus 6x plus 9. Right, and then I'm going to move everything over to one side. So add x and subtract the 5. So we would get 0 equals x squared minus 5x plus 4. And then I would factor this. So put x in the first spot, and then factors of 4 that add to negative 5 would be negative 1 and negative 4. So I would get x equals 1, x equals 4. And then plug 1 and 4 back in for x into the linear equation. I'm going to do the equation that I already solved for y. So I'm going to take this equation and do negative 1 plus 5 is 4. So that would make the point 1 comma 4. And then if I did negative 4 plus 5, that would give me 1. So that would be 4 comma 1. So that was just a kind of a coincidence that they ended up being like just opposite coordinates. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, so for this one, this is linear, this is quadratic. The linear one, once again, is not solved for y yet, so we would have to add the 30 over. So it would be y equals 12x plus 30. And then don't forget about this equation, because remember, once we get the x, we're going to plug it back in for x in this equation, rather than this one, because this one is already solved for y. Okay, then, so that's the first step. Second step is to then set your equations equal to each other. So we've got 12x plus 30 equals x squared plus 11x minus 12. Subtract these two things onto the other side so that you get 0 equals x squared minus 12x minus 12x. So that would make negative x minus 30 makes negative 42. All right, and then we'll factor this. These equations for these two methods will always be factorable like this, not AC method or anything. So factors of 42 that add to 1, that's easy. Negative 7, positive 6. All right, solve for x. So you'd get x equals 7, x equals negative 6, and then you plug 7 and negative 6 back in for x up here. So if I did 12 times 7, that I could probably do it if I thought hard enough. 84. So 7 comma 84. Actually, I'll write the answer over here. That's one answer. And then how about 12 times negative 6? You know it's negative 72. And then we're going to add 30 to that. Oh, I forgot to add 30 to 84. Okay, so we get negative 42. So negative 6, negative 42. And then I'm supposed to add 30 to the 84. So that would make 114. So we'll do 1, 1, 4. Okay. And those are this would be a good example where you wouldn't want to use graphing method. You would want to use this method because it's easier. And could you use elimination here? Sure, that would work. If you solve for y here and then you subtracted the equations, that would definitely work for this one and part A. So really, in the directions for your next Edulastic, make sure that you use what it tells you to do, except when it comes time to the test, you can do either method, substitution or elimination. But you will have to do either one of those because you won't have the graphing calculator or the Desmos graphing calculator or a graph available to you. Okay, so that we do have time for the graphing method. So let's go ahead and do that. This is a really interesting one. And it's something that you're going to learn all throughout Algebra 2, and it could be useful for geometry as well next year. And definitely when you get to calculus, you'll be using stuff like this. And it's just a really good tool in your calculator to learn how to do. So solve the equation using a system. So what we're going to do here, make sure that you write down the steps to this really well, is we're going to take this and we're going to consider this as two separate equations. We're not going to move the one over. Instead, we're going to put the first part into our y1 and the second part into our y2. Remember that y equals 1 is a horizontal line that goes like that and it crosses 1 on the y-axis. And this is a quadratic. So we're going to find where they intersect and learn the buttons on our calculator that let us find that. So take your calculator, go to your y equals and clear whatever's there, and type in the equation. It's negative x squared plus 4x plus 1. And then in y1, you're going to just type in 1. Okay, I'm going to press zoom 6 to get to the standard window in case it was zoomed out or zoomed in. So here's my parabola, here's my horizontal line, and I'm going to try to find this intersection point and that intersection point. And the thing is, you can't just guess because although it looks like it's on 0, 1, it might be a decimal or might just be barely there, so we need to learn this method. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to press second and then calculate under the trace button. So second, calc, maybe write down the steps over here. So step 1 is second, calc. After you type it into your y equals, of course. Okay, step 2 is to do intersect. So 5, intersect. And you have to do it twice, one for each intersection point. But we'll find the first intersection point and then we'll go back and find the second one. So click 5, or you can arrow down. Okay, so do you see down here how it says first curve? So I want to, the first curve is my blue one. So I want to kind of go over just a little bit so I'm not on the intersection point and press enter. Okay, so it's first curve, question mark, enter. That's just saying that your calculator is asking you, where is the first curve? So you scroll over the first curve and press enter. And then now see how after you press enter, it jumps to the second one by itself. Okay, and it's already there, so I can press, after second curve, press enter. second curve. I did not send curve, second curve. Okay, press enter. And then the fifth thing that you see says guess. That's saying your calculator is asking you, do you want me to guess the intersection point based off of these two curves? And press yes. So the intersection point is 1.6. Okay, so 1.6 to e to the negative 13th power, that's like times 10 to the negative 13th power, which means it's just a really, really, really super duper small number that's basically 0. So if you see something like this and you're like, hey, that's probably 0, then it probably is. So it's 0, 1. So enter, so basically you're pressing enter 3 times, and then it's going to give you the solution. So this would be 0, 1 for the first one. And then we need to do it again. So press second, calc, intersect. But now if we're doing this intersection point, then we need to scroll over until we get closer to that intersection point, or else it's just going to give us the other one again. So press enter, enter, enter. Enter 3 times for the first, second, and third, and then the guess. So this one would be 4, 1. All right, let's do another one. So let's do x squared minus 2 and negative x. X squared minus 2 and negative x. It's going to make a parabola and a linear equation. So I'm going to do zoom 6. There's my parabola. There's that. And then once you get the steps, this is actually really easy. So go second, calc, intersect, scroll closer to the one on the left. It doesn't really matter which order you find them in, but I just like to go left and then right. So scroll closer to that intersection point, press enter, enter, guess, negative 2, 2. Negative 2, 2. And then the other one is negative x squared. Oh, wait, no, we got to do second calc 5. Oops. Enter, enter, enter. 1, negative 1. And I hope you realize that the numbers I'm getting are from here, x equals 1, y equals negative 1. So then we just write it as a coordinate, 1, negative 1. Okay, and I think we're okay for the next one. If you want, you can try it yourself. You should, actually for this one, let's do this one real quick. This one is a little bit different. So I'm going to type in the negative x squared one first, and then plus x, and then the other one is x plus 4. So this is a parabola opening down. This is a linear equation with a positive slope. So if I do zoom 6, get that and then that. Okay, so those don't intersect each other. And if you try to zoom out, they still won't intersect each other ever, because this is always going down and this is always going this way. So when you get something like this, you would say no solution. And there would be imaginary solutions, just no real solutions. So we'll leave it at that. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this lesson. You guys have a great day.